positioned under them directly from Nagpur. We simply don't believe that one state, one ideology, one set of people should run this country. We believe that 1.2 billion people should run this country, and the institutions are their instrument, and we will defend them.
It's all about collective leadership, leadership plus people. It's not leadership and then people. Can I go over from the front desk? Yes.
25 years back and had the privilege of working under your father. My question is, all the parties, yours, BJP, or whatever else is in power, they all neglect the middle class. If your party comes to power, what will you do for the middle class?
Well, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to say that all parties neglect the middle class. I think what the Congress party did between 1991 and 2014 massively helped create the middle class. And our policy of liberalization was, frankly, the set of policies that built the entire middle class. So I don't think it's fair to say that the middle class is ignored. But now, of course, you have to ask Mr. Modi that question. But I will tell you what I think the Congress party can and should do that will help the middle class. Couple of things. The monopolization and capture of the education system and the healthcare system, and the idea that if a middle class person wants to send his child to university or school, he has to pay lakhs and lakhs and potentially crores of rupees to get him into a decent education, needs to be challenged. So you need to put a significantly bigger amount of money into healthcare and into education. And you need to start looking at building high quality education and healthcare infrastructure. I'm not saying that there is no role for the private sector. There is. But the flagships and the standard must be set by large numbers of public sector institutions like the IITs. If you think about it, the IITs were, as an institution, were invented in the 50s. And we keep harping on how good the IITs are, and they're very good. But they're 50-year-old institutions. And one needs to think about how to transform the IIT into a 21st century institution. The value that is currently locked in the IITs needs to be opened out. For example, it is this exact same situation in healthcare. And then if you want to talk about jobs in this country, you have a complete capture of the banking system. 12.5 lakh crores. 12.5 lakh crores of India's banking money is in the hands of 30 or 40 businessmen. If you're a small businessman or a middle-sized businessman, you deal with demonetization, you deal with GST, but you are not forgiven your loans. Mr. Vijay Mallya can run away with 9,000 crores. Mr. Nirav Modi can run away with 30,000 crores, which is the equivalent of one Narega for 1 year, and not a word is said. Mehul Choksi can run away with 30,000 crores. Anil Ambani can be given 30,000 crores just like that. Stolen, frankly, from the people of Odisha, because you have HAL over here. So, some of these monopolies need to be challenged. A young middle-class businessman who wants to set up an industry needs to have access, similar access to the banking system as Mr. Anil Ambani does. He needs to have similar access to the political system as Mr. Anil Ambani does. And if we centralize power, if everything is run outside the Prime Minister's office, from the Prime Minister's office or from the Chief Minister's office, well, then only 15 people can benefit. 15, 20 people who are close to him can benefit. So the single biggest step, and this is where Odisha can teach us a huge amount of lessons, is decentralization of power, bringing power to the people. So I think that is the broad direction in which I would push. Also, things like RTI, things like the Lokpal Bill, which conveniently have been forgotten. RTI is a huge defender of the middle class. It is a weapon of the middle class. But today, the RTI is dead. So, giving the middle class protections, giving the middle class certain basic support, and making sure that the bureaucracy can't ride roughshod over the middle class. Those are the type of things we would think about.
Distinction between education as a private service or it should be a public good first. I think that distinction has been made pretty well. Rahulji, there
not
is
a private service,
for which you
a money-making enterprise. Because it's not a private service today. Today it is purely a money-making enterprise.
Rahulji, in the context of Bhubaneswar, there is another side of anxiety that today grapples the middle class, which is about what impact and automation, artificial intelligence could have on technology-driven jobs. Because here, the aspiration is that Bhubaneswar should emerge as a tech hub. And we have a lot of IT companies. And the kind of jobs that get generated for a lot of middle-class people here are vanishing rapidly. What would be your approach to dealing with this challenge?
The central challenge, if you ask me, well, I'll ask you a question to begin with. How come automation is not having an impact on job creation in China? How come China, in a world which is automating, is producing 50,000 new jobs in every 24 hours? Why? Why is it that automation is a problem in Europe, automation is a problem in India, but automation doesn't seem to bother the Chinese? I was, when I had gone to Kailash, I met a couple of their ministers and they were saying, no, job creation is not a problem in China at all. We have plenty of jobs. In fact, we have too many jobs. So the real issue is if you are actually producing things and if you are in the technological stream, you do not have a problem. You do have a problem if you are producing the low value added jobs. If you are doing body shopping, then yes, you have a big problem. But if you're actually producing things, you don't have such a big problem. And the problem is that India is frankly not producing things. And neither is the West. Production today has been completely dominated and captured by the Chinese. What we are facing, and this is something that India has to accept, and it is refusing to accept. What you're facing is an extremely competitive China that is beating everybody at the production game. And India frankly is the only country that can step up to this challenge. Modi ji talks about make in India. What's the actual result? 24 hours, 50,000 jobs every day in China. In the same 24 hours, India produces 450 jobs. This is not my data. This is the data of the government of India in the Lok Sabha. So I'm not a believer. The same idea was put forward that computers will wipe out jobs. No, I am not a believer that automation is going to wipe out jobs. You will still need the people to build the computers. You will still need the software engineers to do the automation. You will still need all those people. But are you in that game or are you not in that game? And that to me is the real question. And frankly, today India is not in that game. And we might not like to hear it, but that's the truth.
Well, the better educated is always capable of dealing with technological changes better than the poorly educated. How do we ensure that everyone gets better education?
I'll take one step back. Number one, you simply cannot forget about agriculture. Today, and this is going on in every single state, today governments are under the impression that agriculture is a weight. That agriculture is something that really we just have to deal with, unfortunately. In fact, agriculture is the backbone of any country. And huge number of jobs are going to come from agriculture if India rethinks agriculture. And I'm not talking simply about giving a farm loan waiver here and a farm loan waiver there. No. I'm talking about a transformation of the agricultural system. I'm talking of rethinking how the Indian farmer connects to the rest of the world. Number two, small and medium businesses are going to give you the jobs. Large businesses are not going to give you the jobs. What has been done over the last 5 years is a massacre of small and medium businesses. Demonetization, GST have literally broken the back of these businesses. Instead of seeing them as our biggest assets, instead of seeing them as our biggest strength, which they are, we have basically, Mr. Modi has destroyed them. So the central question in front of our country is, how do you produce jobs? And India has a job crisis. There's no question about that. There is no state in India which today is not facing a job crisis. Now, huge part of that is education. You want an education in India, you have a system where it is mostly privatized. A lot of it is not job related. A lot of it has nothing to do with the type of skills that are required. So you need to re-engineer these things and realign these things. Today, if you listen to the conversation in India and you read the newspapers, the main thing people talk about is growth. If we have 9% growth, we are doing well. If we have 7% growth, we are not doing so well. If we have 6% growth, we had a real problem. Nobody talks about jobs. You can grow at 9% and still have no jobs. And that is really the problem in India. So we have to change our mindset, and we have to take our mindset much like we did when we carried out the Green Revolution, much like we did when we did liberalization, that we are now searching for a new paradigm. And that our old paradigm that worked from 1990 to 2010 or 11 has a role to play.
Right. we have to rethink our development paradigm. That's the fantastic takeaway from here. Can I now turn to a lady? Yeah. We'll come back. We'll try and come back. Can we have a couple more microphones so that, we don't waste distributing them?
Well, congratulations, first of all, for your last victory, Rahulji. My name is Rutuparna Mohanty, and I am working for women development in Odisha.
Well, so Congress President Rahul Gandhi, they're kickstarting Congress's poll campaign in Odisha. Remember, this is one state which will also have assembly elections along with the Lok Sabha polls. The Congress President's visit comes close on the heels of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's back-to-back visits to the state.